In today's video, we're going to talk about the Run As mode that is supported by the Nerdio Manager for WVD application. If you go under Settings, you will notice there is a section called Run As, and this section instructs the application on the context in which the various interactive actions run inside of the program. So by default, all tasks and requests run as the application, and the application creates a service principal when it is first registered and installed inside of an Azure subscription. So by default, any action such as powering off VMs, creating new ones, deleting them, will appear under activity in the Azure portal as the application service principal. However, in some environments, it may be necessary to run those interactive tasks on behalf of the actually logged in user, the one who's clicking the button and causing those tasks to happen. Now, this is not a common scenario, but it is required in some security related scenarios where it's necessary to see who the user is inside of the native Azure logs. So in order to be able to switch that to the Run As User mode, you simply click on the Settings module here in the Nerdio Manager for WVD, and then you click on Run As User in the section. It gives you a bit of a warning to make sure that you're making the change and understand the ramifications, and then you click OK. And what happens now is that any action that you would take in the application that's interactive, meaning one where you are clicking a button and doing something. Let's go ahead and power on a particular VM. What we'll notice if we look at the details of that action is that before it gets run by the system, first thing that happens is that the context of the operation is set to the user who actually clicked on the button. And then if you look in the Azure activity logs, you will notice that this action, which is a start VM action, was triggered by my username right here. Now, the reasons to not switch the application mode to Run As User is because sometimes the user who may have access to the Nerdio Manager for WVD application may not have the necessary permissions in Azure to perform all the different actions that are required as part of operating a WVD environment. And in that case, for example, if a user has no ability to delete objects and they go ahead and they try to delete a session host or re-image a session host or do anything that is going to require elevated permissions, they will get an error and there will be less consistency in all of those operations, which is why we don't recommend making this change unless there is a very strong reason to do it. And then if you do make this change, keep in mind that this is global, this applies to all users. And if it's still required, it's easy to change it here and to change it back as well by clicking on Run As App.